Hey, what is going on YouTube? Aaron here. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Guys, it is Friday, and you know what that means. Time for the Friday feature. Today we have Mr. Wiz Shelby and the Brindisi XP record. I'm sorry if this video, you guys know that the Friday features, people send me these videos, and Wiz actually sent this to me on a Google download, and then it would not download directly to an MP4. It would only download to an HTML5, which I know is like speaking gibberish, but this is the best video quality. I spent like 5 hours last night legitimately between my girlfriend's car breaking down and having to deal with a family member getting dental surgery. But regardless of that, we have this Friday feature. Enough about my life here. Wiz has been a viewer of the channel for a very long time and an excellent player. I will link his channel down below. I don't have a screenshot of it at this time. If I do, I'll try and throw it in now, but if not, make sure you check the link in the description. Wiz is, like I said, been a viewer of the channel for a very long time, and also just a kind of a long time friend and an excellent player as well. And he is in the Brindisi here, trying to have some fun in the game that is World of Warships Legends as a solo player, and we all know how that can go. This game starts off kind of slow, but as Wiz practices the principles that I preach, I'm sure he didn't get them from me, but by staying alive, positioning well, seeing what your team needs, and then finishing out the game, Wiz smashes up the enemy team here and gets a fantastic replay and XP total towards the end of the game. Now, we all know that the Italian cruisers and other certain Italian ships have access to the SAP modules here, and I'm going to be honest, up until kind of midway through this game, the damage output of the SAP was fairly lackluster. I will also critique Wiz on one thing. He could have, now that situation didn't present itself till he was mid reload, and that is one of the weaknesses of the Italians, is their slow reload. But using AP sometimes, you guys saw it a couple probably weeks ago now that I dev struck a Petro at medium range with the Brindisi with that AP. The SAP can just do so much at angles, even to broadsides really. We tend to focus on it sometimes when we should be using AP. But Wiz is played in aggressive position here. You can see that cruiser just YOLO in. I have no idea what he's doing. Being aggressive early on can benefit you. Wiz's team does actually get this this A cap, which is, you will notice, I'll point it out later, is very beneficial. But this cruiser decides to just go and push even further than he needs to and sit there for essentially no reason. You will see very shortly here that it does not benefit that cruiser. Here is one of the most satisfying shots, though. And only 4 pens. If you would have gotten, all 12, that daring could have potentially been dev struck. But we know that, sometimes RNG and the accuracy of the Italians is not going to be on your side. But Wiz actually gets the solo cap here. I'm assuming that cruiser got reset. That's probably the reason he got that. He also utilized his rolling smoke here to get out of essentially all incoming fire, out of detection. From that Palmer and the Daring. There was a Tulsa over there, and then you can actually see there's 2 more cruisers, or a cruiser and a battleship behind them. So Wiz is on the weak side for sure, even though his team is kind of taking care of things in B. His team, as you can see very shortly here, will start to even things out as that Alaska gets dev struck and goes down, giving, always putting your team at a disadvantage. I heard a while back, I think it was from Captain Thatch, who is a fellow CC, but also he does reviews on Reddit or Discord or of the ships, and he said that basically you just need to get that first kill. As you can see, that Aguirre, no idea what he was doing, goes down, and basically the game just snowballs from there. But considering that Wiz is still in this game, he gets a nice angle there. He defended pretty well against that Palmer. As Wiz is still in this game, his team still has a chance. But if you notice, they are down 2 cruisers there and a destroyer early on for basically no gain. They did get the cap advantage, but that Aguirre, he could have either pushed through and torped the Palmer. German battleship or battle cruiser players, or cruiser players, anybody with torpedoes, they want to use them so badly, and I've been guilty of this myself. You guys know my record with hitting torpedoes is low, except for when it counts, really. But a lot of those players just tend to YOLO rush in, and as soon as the reticle lines up, they launch them, instead of really getting alongside the target or making sure, sometimes you'll launch the torpedoes, and people do this to me all the time. They'll launch them, and I'll just cut in, right? I'll stop the I'll go full stop and turn in, and that usually allows for a miss. Here is actually a pretty beautiful shot. I think it clipped the edge of that island, though. As you can see, those were ghost shells. But anytime you can... Now, we know that the front turrets, of course, sometimes you can change your point of view by selecting on the turrets. You guys will see me do that very often. But the back turrets were close to clearing, so getting in there and taking that shot anyway, sometimes the view will not line up because of how the reticle and the point of view changes. Sometimes when you can get different viewpoints from those turrets. But that was actually a very good shot there. And there was actually probably one of the best salvos that he has gotten so far with that SAP. He missed a few on the daring, but a nice little salvo to tick his first epic reload there, as well as getting some team friendly fire on that Tulsa from the few cruisers behind him. But like we talked about, the SAP, unless you can get him on very lightly armored targets or plates, is just, I feel like it doesn't do enough. And there's nothing wrong with that, because SAP on the destroyers and on those appropriate targets, when you get those salvos, and here is one of them actually, the very heavy superstructure of this Alaska, a nice RNG roll there, and boom, 10,000 damage. But when you cannot get those salvos and they happen, SAP saturates, I feel like, a touch too quickly. Now, I think this is how it's supposed to happen, but regardless, when you do get that saturation, you're basically useless. Now, of course, you can switch to the AP, as we suggested in the beginning of game, and there was another beautiful salvo on that slightly angled Yamato, and that is, I guess, where the SAP does shine, is those angles where of course, you could get the penetration if you have the appropriate HE, such on British battleships or German, cruisers or something like that, with the German penetration. And of course, you can always get fire damage. But if I'm going to be playing a cruiser with HE, I'm not going to be playing an Italian. That's not what they're meant for. I know there was an argument back in the day that the HE is more effective, and you could make that argument, but to me, the game would be so boring to play a cruiser with a 17-second reload with HE. So that is not while we're playing. In the meantime, though, I actually wasn't paying attention on I've watched this video a few times just because it's pretty good, but I have no idea how the gearing died. Yeah, I think you can see his mark on the other side of the map there, but I don't know. Like, when you're a destroyer, you have to realize that the game is in your hands, pretty much at all times, but especially late game. Now, Wiz also does a very good job here of trying to isolate the enemy destroyer, who does a better job than his friendly destroyer of trying to live. And you can see there that Wiz was targeted very quickly. He does. I will have him comment his build, as he didn't put it in the video, but you can see that he was targeted very quickly due to the indicator there, and that probably tells Wiz that he's being torped, and there they are. Single fire torps from the daring can be insanely effective. They can also be very useless, as in this case. If he would have saved one rack, he probably could have caught Wiz here as he launched that set of torps on the Yamato and actually got a flood. So hitting those very slow Italian sea mines is a lot of fun when you can do it. Here, though, Wiz is in a little bit of a tricky spot. He calls for the radar, and the friendly Des Moines actually does it, which is huge, because that daring is right there. If he would have shot, he would have been detected. I'm actually not sure the smoke firing penalty. I think it's under 6.5, though, because he goes dark for a brief moment and then reappears. Not exactly sure why. I think the smoke might have been dissipating, but if he had shot previously at that Yamato or tried to blind fire the daring, he could have potentially been detected and absolutely yeeted by that Yamato. You guys saw me get pretty heavily hit by a Congress the other night, coming around a corner and kind of angling. I wish I could get Wiz's gameplay, where some people maybe don't immediately recognize him, although he's a very good player, and after this video I'm sure you guys are going to be aware of his talents. Here, though, he takes a shot very, very highly placed, but beautifully placed on the superstructure for a 9K salvo. So very excellent aim, good target, assessment and placement, and he is evening up this game. You'll notice they are up on capture points, although the A cap is being contested, and they are about to be up on ships as that Yamato goes down. So the cruisers, which kind of bundled up behind him and didn't do much, they were semi-effective until his friendly Yamato went down. As you can see, a Shima on the opposite flank torped the Yamato in the middle. And there's honestly nothing that Yamato could have done. We all know that Yamato is basically a bus with giant guns, so trying to outmaneuver the most skillful class, as in the Shima, is very effective. And that is when the other Des Moines goes down. It looks like he was sitting broadside or slightly angled, but the Des Moines did do one last thing that actually helps save this game, sort of. He gets the reset on the Alaska here. And that is when Wiz decides to do my favorite thing and come around the backside here. And he's got this Alaska in a blender. If the Alaska turns to get all guns on target, Wiz can just wait for that shot and angle. I'm pretty sure he's running an Agile build, which is actually what I run on my Italian cruisers. There's the shot, only minimal overpen damage to the bow or the superstructure there, as opposed to massive Citadel damage that the Italian cruisers do usually give up if you kind of lose that angle. Like we mentioned, happened to me the other night. But with the agile build, the agility of Mimbelli here, which, like I said, you guys know I'm not a huge fan of agile builds, but I do run them on the Italian cruisers because I think that is where they are most beneficial. Yes, accuracy can help you a touch. I know that Chile runs Sansonetti, but I just think that the agility builds on these are actually just very effective. But it's only because of the rolling smoke, right? It's not because agile builds are better. They're in most cases they're actually worse because you end up mispositioning because you think you can dodge. And that's happened to me in the Italian cruisers and in a few other ships, right? I was playing the St. Louis the other night with a mixed agile build, and you want to use your speed and your rudder instead of your positioning. But the problem with the French cruisers is that they don't have good acceleration, so you can't throttle jockey as much as you can in other ships. But here Wiz is coming around. He is chasing this Alaska, and this Alaska is actually making the right play. Now, he could have potentially positioned his guns and got a shot on the more open broadside, and that is when the Shimakaze makes the most blue team play ever. He decides to open water gunboat while capturing the capture point. You can see that they are 6 points tied on caps. And for the Shima to shoot here, I have no idea what he's doing. But Wiz doesn't have time to worry about that. It was actually potentially to distract Wiz from the torpedoes he launched, which is pretty decent, spread there, but Wiz dodges beautifully. He gets another salvo on the Alaska. Also, if you will notice, Wiz is hitting different armor plates of the Alaska. The SAP has excellent penetration angles up to 15 degrees or 75 degrees, or 75 degrees in the opposite direction. Here, though, is a shot that kind of triggered me. I think Wiz would the Shima juked real quick and that shot just missed, but I would have been wait, where did that shot go? But he doesn't have time to think about it. The Alaska shoots, only getting I think one penetration, so the Alaska's on reload. Wiz launches the torpedoes. Hurry up and get there, slow Italian torps. He gets them, and now it is just down to the Shimakaze. Now we know that the Shima already launched 2 racks. He could still have one. And that is when the Shima decides to pop out after already getting the capture point, and I have no idea what he's doing. The SAP absolutely shreds destroyers. That was like a 15K salvo there. Gets the Confederate in the meantime. He still needs to be wary of torps. I would have kept my acceleration up and turned in. He does turn in here, but he dropped down to low speed here, trying to maybe get a little dodge, but it doesn't matter. He gets the reload off with the Max Epic Reload mod. And good night, Shima. Thanks for playing. If I was on the blue team and that Shimakaze was my last teammate, I probably would have thrown something. There was no reason for him to be in that engagement. Italian cruisers are your absolute worst enemy, but a 42-92 score there. 184K, not that much damage, all things considered. He got 147 target hits and 3 torp hits, but 9 defends, 1 solo cap, and 3 just perfectly timed kills. So Wiz, a huge congrats. That was an excellent game to watch. It teaches us the principles, right? Putting a ship in the right position, going after destroyers, going after capture points, and just playing the game, right? That game sort of came to him, but if he would have said, oh man, my team threw, and just gave up his ship. Now, you've seen me do that when the team throws in the first 2 minutes, but yeah, it's becoming more of a trend here in Legends. But he didn't give up, and he finished out the game with an epic XP total and replay for you guys. So a lot of people might say that those were paid actors, but that was beautifully played at the end. The Shima potentially did have $20 deposited into his account from Wiz, but it doesn't matter. Wiz, GG's buddy, appreciate you sending me the replay. Make sure you guys send me a few replays or message me. I've got one coming up from Travis himself, Mr. Bacon, and then, of course, Jared and a few other people. But I love you guys. I hope everyone has a great weekend. I'll be doing a few more videos and, of course, being on the live streams tonight. But like I said, someone in my family is having minor dental surgery, so I've got to kind of help take care of then, and of course the girlfriend's car. But I love you guys. Appreciate you guys letting me blabber. AA Ron out. Peace.